You're listening to
and such a short amount of time to do it in.
a Mamamia podcast.
Just a heads up, this is a grown-up conversation, so if you've got little ears around, keep that in mind. You might cry. Where are the tissues? We've usually got tissues in here.
Bruno, mine
We've
need
got
a little
tissues.
No, the little
He needs a dab.
yeah, a little dab.
A little dab. It's bloody 30 degrees today.
I know, and I've been
Kyle Sandilands has lived a lot of different lives over the past 50 years.
I actually thought last night,
was
geez, everyone's saying the fires, the floods, maybe there's something to this.
He's been a survivor of family abuse. He's been a scared homeless kid, a grasping regional radio presenter. He's been a multi-millionaire celebrity, heartbroken divorcee. He's been a nightclub king, and he's also been someone who has nearly lost his job multiple times at the peak of his career.
I feel like I've let the people that I work for down. And often when these things have happened, it hasn't happened like dozens of times, but more often than not, it's inflamed in an area that's a little inaccurate.
From Mamamia, I'm Mia Freedman, and you're listening to No Filter, an interview podcast with people who tell their stories very candidly and aren't afraid to be vulnerable. Kyle Sandilands is also, along with his breakfast radio co-host Jackie O, the highest paid person in the Australian entertainment industry. Not just radio, all of it.
For 20 years now, they've not only consistently topped the Sydney FM radio ratings, they've turned waking up their audience into an art form. There are no airs and graces with the pair, which is exactly what their fans love. But it's also what supplies the ammunition to keep their critics, and there are plenty of them, huffing and puffing.
And over the next two episodes, he's with me in the studio here at Mamamia. Here's Kyle Sandilands.
How long has it been since we've been opposite each other on a microphone?
I reckon it was when, I was talking to Bruno about it, I reckon it was when you and Jack were doing the National Drive.
Correct. Yes, it was.
And I was the editor of Cosmo.
Exactly.
So probably 15 years ago.
Oh my
more.
God.
Yeah.
Didn't you also help
We've
me
had a
get
life.
Dolly Doctor on the radio?
Yeah. Yeah,
Remember
Melissa
that?
Kang.
Yeah.
Yeah, I used to have your mobile and we used to text each other
That's right,
occasionally.
yeah.
I can't remember about what, but then we sort of lost contact.
Yes. Well, I changed phones because you know me.
You became notorious.
Nah, yeah. And people would ring. Even my family don't really have the number.
Yeah, right.
Some do, but not all of them.
But why?
Because they're punished. So,
Oh, so it's specifically you changed your number to get away from your family.
From family, yeah, friends. People I'd squashed on the way up. Everyone's like, hold everyone's hand on the way up. I didn't do that.
You squashed on the way up.
Some, yeah. Not on purpose, just
It happens.
it was the only way I knew how to move forward.
To be squashy.
To squash everyone that got in the road. But not everyone, just anyone that was in the road.
And what did in the road look like?
God, it came
Was
in
that
many
people that
forms.
said no to you?
Well, I would try and move around, climb over, dig under, but if the only way forward was through or squashing, then I'd do that. I did that a lot in the early days.
And that was between you and your ambition, where you wanted to be, which
Well-
was where?
Well, my first ever job was radio at 16. That was just after the homeless days, so I did that for a year. Then the first job was 16, and then I just had to keep moving from little station to little station to little station, and it was like I didn't know why or where I wanted to go, but I was always told, oh, you'll never actually be able to talk on the radio with that voice.
What was wrong with your voice?
I think I sound a little bit like this, very high-pitched, very fast.
You did a bit.
Yeah, a bit Jiminy Cricket.
Yeah.
But years of weed and cigarettes. I don't drink, so I would say alcohol, but no, I don't really drink, so just cigarettes and,
Other things.
yeah.
Why'd you get kicked out of home?
Well, I was a pretty good kid, but parents had been divorced, both remarried. I was a quiet kid, but we'd just moved to a new sort of suburb. So about a year later, my parents went on a trip, like a bus trip to go away to New South Wales. So we were in Brisbane. And all my friends were like, oh, the party will be at your place. And I was like, oh, God, I didn't even take friends over for a visit because my parents were quite strict. And I was like, oh, no. But it eventually ended up at my place, and there was one of those big ones, those big out-of-control Facebook-looking parties before Facebook existed. And, you know, I was out in my mum's car and my other friends were in my stepfather's car and other people were having sex in their bed. It was wild.
That's what happened when you had teenage parties.
Exactly. But every parent's nightmare.
Yeah.
So I drove my mum's car back in the driveway, maybe 2 a.m, and my mum and stepfather were standing in the driveway. And I thought, it didn't compute at first because I was like, they're supposed to be on a bus trip, they're going to New South Wales. Kids were fleeing everywhere, like running like a war zone. And, my stepfather, he was a one-eyed fire chief of Brisbane. So he was terrifying. And he grabbed me by the back of the neck. I remember it very cartoon-like I was off the ground. And he's like, you little this, that, and the other. So I was kicked out. Don't come back here. You're never welcome back here. And I thought, because they were so strict, I just believed every word. I didn't think for a second, they'll settle down. Like I was a bit terrified as a kid of them. So I just rode off on my bike. He chased me. You're not taking that bike. And I rode off into the darkness.
Did your mum try to step in?
No, but mum had come from a battered wife sort of a situation with my real dad.
Yeah.
So she was very soft and never spoke up. And I didn't blame her for that because I knew I lived through those early years with my dad drinking and abuse, horrible. So I was just glad that she was with someone that wasn't hurting her.
Yeah.
So I thought she'll be right. And really, maybe a month or two later, they sold that house and moved out of Brisbane. So,
What?
Yeah, they just moved house.
Without having contact with you?
Yeah, but I disappeared and was never seen again. So I don't know what they did.
Did you have siblings?
Yeah, I had a little brother, yeah.
And was he still there?
Yeah, he was still there.
And were you still in contact with him?
No, I was halfway through year 10 when this happened, and then I just never went back to school. And a year later, I was in Townsville living with my aunties, and she was the one that realised, she cut a little newspaper article out of a Townsville paper and said, hey, look, they're looking for someone to work on the radio 1 hour a day. 1 hour a day, I thought. That's right up my alley. Being homeless, I thought that's just exactly what I want. So I lied and got that job. The job was, I was 16, right? And the job was driving the radio station car, giving away the free stuff.
Promo
Guy.
Yeah.
But I had to drive the car, had no license. So I lied and anyway, drove the car back to my auntie's place after the job interview. And she freaked. She was like, what are you? You've got no license. And I was like, I've got the job. And she was like, but you can't drive. All that to her. And I didn't understand. I was so thrilled for the first time in a year in a long time. And she said, you can't drive that car. You could kill someone. What happens this? And I said, oh, well, fuck you. I'm going back to Brisbane. And I was a bit wild. Anyway, she turned a blind eye eventually. So she said, look, I don't want to know about it. I don't like it. But she didn't want me to leave again. And her turning that blind eye to that naughty little boy, then here we are all these years later.
You couldn't move in with your dad after you left your mum and stepfather's house?
No, I went there straight from my mum's place. I rode my bike to my dad's, but he was awake when I got there, and my mum, I think, must have called him because I rode into the driveway and he's swung the door open and from the top balcony said, you're not welcome here either. And so I went to my uncle's place, all my uncles and aunties, and that same response. And I said, I've got no money. And they're like, well, you should think what you do, trying to do the tough love thing.
Yeah. It
was the 80s. So there was no real kids helpline or anything. So
Were you scared?
I think the first night I was really scared because I think I rode my bike around and cried and cried and cried until I sort of stopped in the park somewhere and I was scared. I didn't know where to go or, who was around or anything. But that just sort of disappeared. I remember very quickly not being so worried. I felt very comfortable once I knew where I could go, that I was safe. That was the big thing, safety.
Where could you go that was safe?
For the first few months, I stayed behind a local supermarket where they'd throw all their boxes out. I would steal a loaf of bread and a carton of milk from the early morning deliveries, and I would eat the whole loaf of bread and drink the whole carton of milk, and that's all I'd eat every day. Day in, day out. I think every Tuesday the custard would come and I'd be like, it's custard. That was my thrill. Yeah. And you wonder why I'm overweight now. Apparently the kinesiologist tells me you're allergic to wheat and dairy, and that's all I ate that whole year. So I blame myself, really. But I still, to this day, eat bread and dairy every day.
It's the best food.
Wouldn't mind a sandwich now, but...
I remember reading about you that you used to have not a vision board, which became kind of trendy in the early 2000s with The Secret.
For chicks, but not for guys didn't have vision boards.
But you had a vision book.
No, I had a pencil case I'd cut out things I wanted. All through my childhood I did this. My grandmother I remember sitting in her lounge room and she'd be there, the big yellow toenails and everything, and she'd be like, stop fantasising and cutting out, because I'd cut out chandeliers and vases, cars, weird things. And they would refer to me as Lord Fauntleroy. Oh, there's Lord Fauntleroy there cutting out. What are you cutting out now, princess? And I'd be like, oh, I've cut out this vase, and they would all laugh. All my other cousins are playing football in the backyard. So I think they might have thought, maybe Kyle's going to be one of those soft types, that lays around with the parents cutting out things from magazines. And I had a whole pencil case full of things that I wanted in life. And I'd take a picture of like a car out and show my grandmother and go, I'm going to have a Rolls Royce one day. Oh, good on you. Like, it was all very like, whatever. The kid's a fantasizer. But I remember ringing my grandmother one day when I bought my first Rolls Royce and said, oh, guess what? No, sorry. She rang me and said, oh, I heard that you got this car. And I said, oh, I did. And she said, oh, I remember you used to hold up, cut out pictures of these and no one believed you'd ever get one. And so they're nice memories. She's dead now. She was really the first person to ever give me sort of acknowledge that, you wanted this as a kid and you got it. Doesn't really mean shit now I'm 50 or nearly 50. I just thought, I've wasted a lot of money on things I thought I want or things that I thought would make me happy or fill holes in my life or something. I don't know what I was doing. But I've done that with sex and cars and drugs and all sorts of weird things. Sometimes you just got to admit you just can be a miserable bastard your whole life. Well, but I'm not really miserable. I'm actually quite a happy fellow. Really.
What do you think is missing? Like, what do you think you were looking for, thinking that would fill the hole? Have you had therapy?
No, God, no.
Why God, no?
Oh, imagine Pandora's box being opened up on me. I don't know. Because other people that are friends of mine and girls I've dated and stuff, they've done therapy and then they come home and they're always like, so I've got to, tell myself every day I'm wonderful. And I think, fuck, really? Like,
yeah.
I don't think that.
No, but
I don't think I'm not wonderful. Actually, maybe I think I'm a bit too wonderful. I don't really know. I don't think that much about it. I just think I've made slight adjustments my entire life, but maybe my idea of happiness is a fantasy that doesn't really exist. Maybe it's unachievable, but I don't spend much time thinking about it, really.
Are you still like in that acquiring stage of a better car, a bigger house,
No.
a more fancy chandelier? When did that stop?
Maybe just a few years ago. Like, I've still got nice things, still got nice cars and stuff, but I used to, like, if I'd sit at the traffic lights and if I had the new Range Rover and someone else showed up and there was a model different, I'd get envious. Oh, I want that Range Rover. But maybe I'm just the guy who wanted it. I don't think I was plugging holes, or who knows, maybe I was. A lot of guys like cars.
Yeah.
It's like if you see the new set of shoes, you're like, you want to run out and get shoes?
Yeah, I'm not such a shoes girl, but just, just all sorts of clothes. Just like, You
had them at your disposal through all the magazine years. You probably didn't see a lot of value in it.
But you know how some people say they eat their feelings?
Yeah.
I buy clothes and serums, face creams for my feelings.
Oh my God, what serum do you use? I use a serum as well.
What serum do you use?
I don't know. Mrs. puts it on me.
Oh,
I don't know what
your
she puts.
Your skin does look actually quite
yes, well, I just thought that's from being fat.
Well-hydrated.
I thought it was from just being fat, like it was plumpish. If I get skinny, which is unlikely, I'm scared I'm just going to be very wrinkly.
Are you 50 yet?
Nearly. June 10, I'm 50.
Oh, I'm 50 this year too.
Oh, wow.
How do you feel about it?
I thought I would feel worse, but like I realised around 35 or something, it's the same as 25. You're just a little bit slower and a bit crinkier and, you bend down and get a couple of cracks in your legs. When I was younger, I thought 50 was nearly dead.
Yeah.
And you hear everyone go, 40's the new 30. And you're like, that's what old desperate say.
So true.
But when you get there and you're saying it yourself, okay, I get it.
You're listening to No Filter with Kyle Sandilands. Your dad died a few years ago.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Oh, yeah, thanks.
What was your relationship like before he died? I mean, I imagined you reconciled with your parents after being homeless and...
Well, on and off, that reconciliation happened like over a few decades. I did an Andrew Denton interview where Mum rang me the next day crying, saying, I'm a horrible mother. All the women at the hairdressers think I'm fucked and New Idea says I'm a terrible... And I'm like, oh. And when I was telling my truth, I didn't realise I'm throwing my own mother under the bus. I didn't even realise. And nor did I think that she would be on the radar for her because she's up on Bribie Island in a retirement community doing line dancing on Wednesday and, that's it. But I felt so bad. And then she goes, I'm flying down. I said, no need to fly down. She said, I must explain to you where I was at when you were thrown out. And I was so gutted that she felt bad, because I think even the way I treat women in relationships and friendships, I'm very soft with women and girls, because I believe it's because, you know, I watched my mum live a torturous life. So I was a little bit more sensitive than the average. I couldn't stand seeing her screaming or crying or being injured. That's very difficult. I witnessed all of that and was too small to do anything. Physically tried to stop it many times, but, you know, got injured myself. So I've always been a bit of a pussy when it comes to chicks. Like a lot of women, a lot of girlfriends have said exactly the same phrase. You're the female in the relationship. Now, you might think me, the guy here on the radio, and you think, no way. But if we argue and then they want to have makeup sex, I'm like, oh, I can't do it. I'm like, no, I'm still too upset because you call me this. And they're like, get over it. Like and I'm like, I just can't. I have to emotionally heal. And they're like, you're the chick. And that's true. Maybe I do attract, or girls I've dated have been a bit more ballsy or out there or good at their career or whatever. The different girls have different strengths. And even lesbian friends of mine, they go, you've got a female energy. At first I was a bit offended. I'm like, oh, what the hell does that mean? Am I like a girly? What's the vibe? And they would say, no, you've got a different energy. You listen, you can engage with someone, have a conversation. I don't feel that I know everything. I think I know pretty much nothing. I've got an opinion on everything, but easily convinced that I'm wrong. Usually am wrong a lot. But I think it's good to have an opinion on something, but have your mind open to being educated a bit from a different person's point of view. And you're like, oh, I've never thought of it from that point of view, or I never looked at it like that. And don't be sort of so stuck in your ways.
You're a bit of a puzzle, a contradiction when it comes to women.
Yeah.
Because I have seen that side of you, both on air and off air.
Sure.
Because if people actually listen to your show, as opposed to just when there's a scandal, because you've done something outrageous.
Yeah.
There's a way you are with women, and we'll get to your relationship with Jack in a second. But then you've also said some frightful things about women. You've said some frightful things about men as well. But when I listen to you, and I know you haven't been to therapy, but allow me just one indulgence. It's like you see that there's two types of women. Have you ever heard of the Madonna whore complex?
Yeah, I've actually been told before that I've treated my wife, and I had the Madonna whore complex with my wife.
Yeah. So like the Madonna whore complex.
And I thought at first, this is a horrible thing.
And it's about Madonna. About Madonna? What? Yeah. Madonna voguing? What
Who's
are we
a whore? What's happening? This is horrible.
But it's about that you see there as being two types of women. The Madonna, so the perfect woman that you worship and respect. Yeah. And then there's the woman who's the whore, who you have no respect for. Basically, that means a woman you have absolutely no respect for and that you're happy to denigrate. You know, the way you call women things sometimes.
Things?
Yeah, sometimes you
Depends
call
if I'm
things.
angry at them. Anyone will cop it. See, this is what I think true equality is. Not that I watch my words, if it's a black person, an Asian person, a female, a male, a fat guy, a legless bloke, whatever. I want everyone to be treated the same. But, you know, if someone's a little bit like softer when it comes to, if you say this, that person might, unless you know, how do you know? I'm just speaking my own truth. I've read before, like I might have spewed about a female journalist, and that's happened quite a few times. But I have taken it personally. I think when something's
What do you mean
written,
you've taken it personally? You've spewed in retaliation.
It's always in retaliation. I've never thrown the first missile ever, because I think anyone can say and do what you please, and, you know, you might write something in a newspaper and I might not 100% agree with it, but there's no part of me that goes, I'm sending her an email or I'm going to say this about her tomorrow. I don't give a shit. You can say what you want. That's your truth. And sometimes when I'm reading someone else's truth that I don't agree with, I think, I've never thought of it like that, and I'll at least take that into consideration. That may change my own opinion over time. I have read, and I've read quite a few times that they go, he attacks female journalists. I think Tracy Grimshaw did an interview with me, and she opened it up, the current affair thing with, you attack female journalists. I said, no, I don't. I would defend myself, and if it happens to be a male, female, whatever, I don't care. I'll still say what I think, but a few times I've gone overboard because I've personally been offended at whatever they were writing.
Sounds like you've
And that's
been
when
hurt.
I've exploded. Yeah, I've exploded and been juvenile and said insulting things. Not good.
Do you do the same if men say bad things about
Worse.
you, or you feel differently?
Worse.
It just doesn't make news.
There's not been that many men that have written things that are like either lies or biased opinion. So they're the things I usually explode on if I think that's totally wrong or they've got the wrong opinion. I'm surprised not everyone listens to my radio show. Now, some people go, oh, that's bloody not egotistical.
Narcissistic.
That's the one. Yeah, I should know that. Been told that a million times. Every argument I've ever had with a girlfriend, you're narcissistic. I'm like, am I? I don't know. Am I? Maybe I am. Don't know. Don't even care, really. Like, I don't feel like
spoken like a true narcissist.
I don't feel like I'm hurting anyone, though. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not out there to sort of convince people to think and act like I do. I'm just showing up every day doing what I do.
Do you see there as kind of being two type of women?
I've never thought about it. I don't think about women as two type of women.
Like, I feel like there's Jackie,
Yeah.
and there's probably other women in your life who you're not romantically involved with.
Yeah, yeah.
And you see us, Gladys Berejiklian, for example, you and I,
Love the
before we
Premier.
started
Yes.
talking, you were saying how much you love her, how you think she's great, and you've been interviewing her and talking to her since well before COVID. And
Sure.
I feel like you see those people in a certain place, and your mother,
Yeah.
and then you see women in a sexual way, and that somehow the sexual ones can be denigrated. They're more objectified. Does that make sense?
No, but maybe you're right. I'm listening to what you're saying.
Yeah, yeah.
Because like when you group them like that,
yeah.
yourself, Gladys, Jackie, you're right. Women I admire, respect, professional interactions with. But I think all other girls, like some girls, this might come as a surprise to you, but some girls love sex. Now,
I don't even mean that. I reckon you'd be nice to waitresses.
Yeah, I am.
Is that right? Yeah.
Of course.
I thought that. So I don't even think it's a like powerful women you suck up to or
No,
or
there's no
important
sucking up
No,
at all.
I don't think it's that. I'm just like, if you want to have sex with a woman, suddenly they become
Objectified or something.
yeah. That not worthy of your respect.
Oh, definitely not. Every single person, if you spoke to any ex-partner of mine, I would hope, and hand on heart, I would hope this and would expect that this is how they would all act very similar. Like, it's never great when you break up with someone. So it's pointing this and that. No, you thought, and you promised me, and like, fucking whatever. Like, we're not getting on anymore. Like, what can you do? It's heartbreaking. It's horrible. I take forever to break up with someone as well because I start thinking, like, she's donated this amount of time to me, and like, obviously we're not. Like, I start trying to, like, I want to make sure they're okay mentally, physically, financially, and they deserve it too. Like ex-wives, my other ex-partners, they're able to be, and this should be looked after and treated with respect.
Are you always the one that ends it?
No. I don't end it, and they're shocked. It's usually a long time. Sometimes, well, the last two, definitely, including my ex-wife and ex-partner. We talked for years on and off, and like it was, we all knew. No one really wanted it to end, but we all know. And it's sadder rather than argumentative. So it's never really been they've ended it or I've ended it. It's usually just like we just both know, yeah. But we do talk about it. It has to be sort of, and because people ask questions, usually press, so you have to sort of say, hey, we need to like actually say
mutual,
something.
whatever,
Yeah, we have to say something.
You have to make a statement
It's
to the world. It's a
ridiculous.
weird thing, right? I can't imagine how weird it is.
It is weird.
Because it's like the really private thing, but you've got to make a public statement about it.
The worst thing is when you first start dating someone else and the newspapers are writing stories about them, but they're wrong. And they're like, what's going on here? My auntie said they read this in Perth. And I'm like, oh, God, I don't know. Like, you can't. And they're like, but you need to tell the press that, that's not. And this has happened for years and years and years of my life. One little thing is wrong because most people aren't used to having the newspaper following their romantic lives. And I try and let everyone know at the beginning. And now it might be a little bit, newspapers might ask you to show up at your mum's. They're like, oh, I don't think so.
That's what Meghan Markle said.
I know. And look what happened there.
I can handle it.
How hard could it possibly be marrying a prince?
Maybe Google Kyle Sandilands before you go on that date.
Yeah, totally. Back to the two women thing that you said, like these women here and the other ones. Are you referring to like when I talk on radio and talk about sexual things and stuff like that? Yeah, it's
more when you talk about women who you're sexually attracted to. So I don't even mean partners. I mean it's women who you think are hot.
Right.
You talk about them a bit like they're meat.
Right.
And it's like,
oh, no,
ew.
my God, I learned the same thing Bryce learned on maths this week.
Tell me what Bryce
Well,
learned
you
on
just
maths.
can't talk about women like, oh, no, it wasn't Bryce. It was that other poor guy that tried to kiss his girlfriend on maths, and she's like, you treated me like me. You tried to tongue me on the wedding night or whatever.
Yeah.
And I felt sorry for him. I thought,
yeah,
this guy's 30-something. He doesn't know. He's still in dickhead mode at 30. As men, we don't know. We're dumb until late 30s. We start to realise, wow, I've been a loser and like a ridiculous fool my whole life. We don't really realise until late 30s. So if you really want to get a good guy, you either need a full religious guy or someone who's a bit older. It's not everyone's cup of tea.
No.
I don't talk about religion anymore, though.
You seem to be a real serial monogamist.
I am.
Yeah. You like being in a relationship.
I do.
Is
And
that
when I'm
'cause-
not in one, though,
Yeah.
like I'm getting my quota up,
Yeah.
every time I've done that, I've not liked it and felt empty and thought, oh, this is not me. And then I like being in a relationship. Something about it makes me feel safe. Don't know whether it's some leftover rubbish from the childhood or what, but I like it.
Why did you decide to get married?
Years and years ago.
You've been married once or twice?
Once. Yeah, just once.
To Tamara?
To Tamara, yeah.
You were pretty young.
Yeah. Well, she was younger. She was 18 when I met her. I think I was 27 or something.
Well, that's ridiculous.
Yeah. So it's a rough.
What made you think that was a good idea?
We were with each other for 8 years, and then the aunties.
From when she was 18?
Yeah, from when she was 18 to when she was 28. Then we got married.
Because of the pressure from her
Yeah, and
aunties.
like her aunties were Lebanese. They're like, oh, when are you going to marry? You got to have a baby. You know, it's about years. That was hilarious. God, they're overeaters, though. They feed you, the aunties. The Lebanese community, wonderful, wonderful community.
That was the time that you were getting pretty famous, right?
Yeah.
That your star was really rising.
That's true.
Was there any part of you that was like, oh, I could be out there
Rooting
you know,
around.
rooting around?
No, I adored her. I liked it. Actually, when I met her, she was more famous than I was.
Pop stars.
That's right. She
Yeah.
was.
Scandalous.
Yeah, that's right. That's
Yeah.
right. It didn't
Oh, yeah.
last that long after the TV show, but she was like right up there. And then I was pretty much new to Sydney, and I was like, this young pop star chick likes me. I was thrilled, really. So yeah, we went through the 8 years, then got married, and then 2 years later, that was done.
Was it sad?
Yeah, I had my heart broken. I was devastated. I ran away and lived in America in a hotel for 6 months and did the show from America because I just couldn't bear the thought of, I don't know, I was embarrassed, whether I thought I'd let her down, myself down, not sure. But I know I handled it pretty immaturely because I just sort of shut everyone out and ran away. Not closed off to marriage in the future. Like I'm not one of these guys that, one and done, none of that. I'm totally open to it.
Are you guys in touch now?
No, we're not in touch. I don't sort of keep in touch with any of my exes. So
Do you know what happened to her? Did she marry, have kids?
To Tam,
Yeah.
last I heard she was living somewhere in California with a fiance maybe who's like a uni professor or something. I'm not sure. I heard that through other friends. So I think she keeps in contact with Jackie loosely on Facebook. Or I don't even have Facebook, so I don't get into those fads.
And then
that turn into the
Imogen.
biggest company in the year. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly, those bags. Then I imagine you're rooting around years between Tam and Imogen, or there must have been other relationships. I don't remember
There were little
reading
ones
about them.
that went on here and there, and
Yeah.
I think there was New Idea or one of those ones. They trapped down some stripper that I was dating in America, and that didn't go down too well because the stripper's mum was a cop, and the mum didn't know that she was a stripper. Oh, just one of those.
Complicated.
Oh, just a nightmare. So, anyways, a few little things here there, but nothing too serious.
Did you have a type over that period?
No type. See, I got into the nightclub scene around that time too. With
In
John.
America or here?
No, here with
Yeah.
John in the Cross. So
John Ibrahim.
John Ibrahim and I owned nightclubs together. And I'd been in a relationship for 10 years. So then I'm hitting the clubs and I said to him, oh, God. And he goes, you'll be right, mate. Get back on the bike. Let's get out there. Brush it off. Start again. He's a really nice guy, John Ibrahim. I know everyone thinks, he's John. He's the greatest guy. Solid. Always there for you. He's a very nice, decent person. But anyway, we haven't got 15 years to go and defend John, but he's a good egg. So we hit the nightclub scene and things had changed. Like 20-something-year-old girls were like blokes used to be when I was going out 10 years before that. Like they were like, how you going? You want a drink? And I was like, oh, my God, they're picking me up. The tables turned. Girls weren't sort of coyly standing in the corner. They were like, hey, how you doing? Do you want this? Do you want that? Just bringing over glasses of things on fire. And
do you think that's because you were famous, they knew who you were?
No, I think because I was very good
John
looking.
was.
No, maybe. Yeah, of course. They knew. But it was just a good scene and I enjoyed that and lots of casual sex with multiple, people. I didn't know their name or they'd told me and I'd forgotten. And when you hook up with someone, it's not going to be a thing or it is and you regret it or you'd have sex in the car on the way home. There's lots of weird stuff going on. But then I was like, this is just not for me. Didn't like it. Just didn't like it. Still felt like a bit of a failure from the marriage and everything not working out. And then eventually you meet someone, you think, okay, maybe I'll try with this one. They've got to want you as well. A lot of those girls they didn't want to hang around me all day either. They were just like, hook up that night and then go.
So they just wanted sex too?
Yeah, oh, absolutely.
They just wanted sex. They didn't want to try to become
they didn't.
Your girlfriend. They didn't want you to buy them things.
Back. Maybe I was a dud root. Who knows? I don't think so. Be great if we could cut that bit out. No, I don't care.
Did you feel self-conscious?
No.
Like when you have sex with that many people?
They're not all at once.
And they're all younger than you?
No, I didn't feel so. Now I'm thinking about it now. I never thought about that. I'd always have the lights very dim. You'd barely be able to see. It's like Legally Blind sort of level where you have to touch, but you can barely see something there.
In the car on a road with no street lights.
I'm like, come over here, girls. Come to my voice.
You make it sound like you had some really debauched times,
Oh,
orgies,
yeah, there was lots of
threesomes.
drugs, orgies. Yeah, not a lot of orgies. That's not my thing. I'm flat out satisfying one woman, let alone a whole room full of ladies.
So Imogen came along.
Yeah.
She was young, man.
She was.
When you got together.
Oh, yeah.
Not that she's old now.
No, she was 20, I think. Yeah.
Kyle, how old were you? I sound like a mother, but
No idea.
I'm not going to
There was
be
a 20
judgy
year
about
difference.
age gap.
There was
But
a 20-year difference.
is that hard in terms of, what do you talk about?
Everything. Animals, cars.
So did you find a generational gap where you'd say something about Culture Club or Boy George and she'd go, who's that?
No, because I'm not a loser that's still talking about Culture Club or Boy George. I'm talking about motherfucking Ty Dolla $ign and all these cool things that I don't know anything about. No, I didn't, in all honesty. And that's not me trying to be young or her trying to be old. I just think there was no reminiscing about the olden days. It was sort of like she was in a similar group of friends than I was, so I'd seen her a few times and she smoked weed, I smoked weed, we just whatever, That's how it all started, chatting over that, sort of being the smokers outside. And that was great and we had lots of good times.
What do you like as a boyfriend?
God, well, different people would say different things, I think, because as you get older, I think you learn more and more. I'd always try and improve on the last relationship, like, I didn't really listen to that person properly, or I tried and I did this. And some people, it doesn't matter what you do, it's just not going to last the distance. Like you're right, she went from a young girl into a woman and,
They're very formative years, that 20 to 25.
You're right. And she went on a similar path. Like it's not as if we couldn't get on. It's just I was, going in my twilight years and she was just becoming a woman. So it was just one of those things that sort of, it was fun while it lasted and it was great. We enjoyed a lot of things about each other, but some of these things, they come to an end sometimes.
I've heard you say you're a real homebody.
I am.
You've sort of done your partying.
Yes.
Do you like to party still sometimes?
I was pretty rad-ass last weekend though, but then we launched a new wine company. So
I saw photos of that.
Yeah, so
on a boat.
Yeah, but I just wanted to go home. I'd been up since 4:30 that morning.
Yeah.
And I got home and then ding dong, bell kept ringing. Everyone kept saying, "Wow!" And I'm thinking, how are these people from the boat? Why are they here?
Why are they in my house?
Yeah, they just kept coming. So anyway, we kicked the last ones out at 4:30 on Saturday morning.
24 hours. How do you do that?
24 hours. Not well.
Yeah, because all the people who are partying don't have to get up at 4:30 the next morning.
That's right. Well, I did. It was Saturday morning, but I just slept all Saturday night, all Sunday, and then got up and just did work again. But I don't do it very often anymore. Those days are long gone, thank God.
Well, that was about half of it. I told you it would be candid, and I told you it would probably be vulnerable, but I don't know if you are prepared for the levels of both of those things. Obviously, there is a bunch that we didn't get to, which is why I wanted to make this conversation a two-parter. Next week, you will hear about Kyle's relationship with his co-host, Jackie O.
But I told her, I said, hey, Jackie's only getting 80,000 and I'm getting this. She goes, oh, well, yeah. And I said, well, it has to be 50-50. I expect her to be in there all the time like I will be. And you're just going to have to take from mine and just make up the difference with hers.
The kids that he never had, how he feels about his body, and whether or not he's a feminist. If you like this podcast, please subscribe and share it with a friend. Tell a friend, share it with a friend, a family member, anyone really. You can find more episodes of No Filter wherever you get your podcasts, including Spotify. This episode was produced by Mel Sauer, and the executive producer of No Filter is Elissa Ratliff. I'm Mia Freedman, and I'll see you on Mamamia.
Mamamia acknowledges the traditional owners of the land we have recorded this podcast on, the Gadigal people of the Eora Nation. We pay our respects to their elders, past and present, and extend that respect to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander cultures.